Here we have the map of Australia. To fly from Sydney across to Perth on the west coast is a journey by commercial aircraft of 5 hours. The cruise that we're planning to do to circumnavigate Australia is out of Sydney, up the east coast, stopping near Cairns, a couple of stops, on to Darwin, stopping there, then down the west coast all the way down to the port of Fremantle and Perth City, continuing to Port Lincoln in South Australia, into the city of Adelaide, and down into Melbourne, and from Melbourne over to Tasmania in Hobart. Finally, completing the circumnavigation off to Sydney, returning from where we started. Hello and welcome. This is downtown Sydney at Circular Quay. The cruise vessel in front of you is the Majestic Princess, and we are about to embark on a 28-day trip around the total coastline of the continent of Australia. The Majestic Princess was built in 2017 and has a passenger complement of around 3,500 passengers. Of course, the best part of sailing out of any city at the beginning of a cruise is the sail away party, and Sydney is quite idyllic with the Opera House in view on one side and the Sydney Harbour Bridge, the icon in many ways of Australia, on the other side. Very slowly we start to move away from our berth, reversing into the Sydney Harbour. And in the distance at the top of the bridge we can see the energetic bridge walkers, and on the left is the Indigenous Aboriginal flag, and of course in the middle is the flag of Australia. What a great time to be sailing just as the sun sets on the horizon. And 28 days time we'll be back to the same location. Slowly we move forward, and on our starboard side we pass by the famous Opera House that has architectural features resembling the appearance of a great sailing ship. Goodbye to Sydney. We'll see you again soon. Meanwhile, at the atrium centre of all action, inside Majestic Princess, the entertainment for the passengers commences. One of the first activities is a 700 glass champagne fountain, which are contributed individually by many of the passengers. And the best part is at the end of the pouring of champagne, we all get to sample the good products. Shortly afterwards, the captain enters the atrium and presents the first officers of his crew to the passengers who have just joined out of Sydney. Yet another officer seems to have enjoyed far too many buffets by appearance. The main Princess Theatre, where live shows are conducted almost every night. The age demographic on this cruise is certainly 65 plus for the older generation. One of our main 3 dining room areas, and we see here on the right a reflection of mobility issues with some of our passengers, but good on them for enjoying the opportunities of such a wonderful lengthy cruise which we have embarked upon. Early Beach is the first stop up the east coast after departing from Sydney. We're blessed by an absolutely perfect day, and as the waters are shallow for such a large ship, it's necessary to use the lifeboat shuttle to go into the local wharf to commence our explorations for the day. Decks aren't too busy because all passengers have already gone ashore. That's one of the lifeboats conducting the shuttle for passengers, about 140 passengers per boat per return, which is half an hour each way in this case. The next stop on our trip north out of Sydney is Yorkeys Knob. This is located about 20 minutes by road from Cairns City, and shallow waters once again. We have to use the ship's shuttle lifeboats to access the harbour, and from here we can travel to the Great Barrier Reef or the inland rainforests and many other tourist related attractions, which is really largely economically what Cairns City is all about. The ship looks magnificent as we sail away to the port. After leaving Yorkeys Knob, the next couple of days we are blessed with an amazing calm sea, magnificent sight, almost not a ripple, as we sail on up to Darwin City in the far north, affectionately known as the top end of Australia. On one of the upper decks we have a sports area. Didn't see much action on this, I must admit. And on the very top deck, smart use of a small area for a putting green. No mirrors involved here. Clearly passengers were busy elsewhere, perhaps in the buffet, not sure. But we had total equipment available and full range of weights and all the gear that you needed to pursue a fitness program. I admit I wasn't one of the participants. A particularly interesting area was the Hollywood Pool Club. This is an interior pool facility with individual cabanas and lounge areas for passengers just to chill out and relax. During the time of the ship's deployment in the Asian market, apparently this was a chargeable facility, but now it's free for everybody to use. Wonderful visibility. This is at the front of the ship, 180 degrees, perfect vision. Another day, another perfect day. Everyone enjoys themselves around the pool as we go around the top end of Australia, heading for Darwin. A feature of the ship is what is known as the Sea Walk. This is an extended area which you can see, and it has glass panels as you cross through the walkway. So not for the faint-hearted, but wonderful experience, and it's like being inside a fishbowl. Please tread carefully. Really, it's quite safe, but it is a bit unnerving. This ship flies the British ensign because it is registered in London, UK. Here we are arriving in Darwin. Darwin has two historic events: the 1941 bombing by the Japanese, multiple raids on the city, and unfortunately 1974, a devastating cyclone which destroyed much of the city centre. Today again, bright and sunny. Meeting the locals, not particularly friendly, but in this case, well controlled with tape around his mouth, so he hasn't got a problem with being attended to. Interesting pedestrian crossing here. This is the downtown shopping mall area of Darwin City. Several modern buildings are in place here. Total population around 150,000 people. Back to the ship, and we can see at the top the skywalk as it extends from the vessel, and the multiple balcony cabins down the side of the vessel. Throughout the ship there are many interactive screens at strategic places, particularly near the elevators, so you can identify where you are and the activities during the day established by the entertainment staff. This is linked to the medallion system, which is the wearable electronic key card. Going around the top end in the northwesterly corner of Australia, we do some cruising in the Kimberley area. This is very remote countryside, not particularly habitable. Interesting weather. We got so far we had to turn around because a rain squall was imminent. So having put out all the towels as you do for the sun decks, the attendants had to gather them all in again. A few minutes after we filmed this, the squall descended on us in typical tropical mass. Very heavy, very short. And that was the end of our summer day. Multiple bars exist on the ship, so no worries about finding something of your liking. One of the most popular locations is indeed the coffee shop here, where you pay for the coffee, but all the food is complimentary. This is useful in between the multiple meals of the day if you're feeling a bit hungry. The Italian restaurant here for pizzas and other Italian dishes. No additional charge applies. Here we have the French specialty restaurant where there is a premium charge, but very elegant and sophisticated menu. And now to the Grand Casino on board. Like many casinos, fun. You can win a little, but they say it's possible to lose a lot if you're not careful. So be advised. Now we go to the shopping arcade, multiple shops, jewelers, general goods, convenience items, cosmetics, perfume, the usual mix, and upmarket specialty shops like Bulgari. A special feature is presented poolside with the illuminated fountains combined with sound and image, which is projected on the giant movie screen in the same pool area. During the course of the voyage, the entertainment team create a number of activities which involve passengers, and in this case here is a paper plane competition. You make your plane, you try and fly it through the hoop, and most fail. Our stateroom was located at the very front of the ship, whereas the buffet, where we went for breakfast and lunch, was at the rear of the vessel. So we were grateful for this enforced workout, which worked rather well because at the end of the cruise we hadn't put on too much weight and yet never once visited the onboard gym. So all good here. And wearing the electronic medallion around our neck, as we came up to our stateroom, it magically unlocked automatically. And having left the room afterwards, it relocked itself again automatically. On deck 16 we have the marketplace buffet. Now, this is where most passengers will have their breakfast and lunch, and there's a fine variety of foods available, including healthy salads and carvery, not to mention desserts and everything you could ever wish for. You'll find it here in the marketplace buffet. The next port of call on the west coast of Australia is Busselton, notable for a 1.8 kilometre jetty. Much easier to catch the train versus at least a half-hour walk to get from one end of the pier to the other. Nice beaches, lovely clear waters, a pleasant small township famous for the Margaret River wine region beyond. Returning to the ship now on the lifeboat shuttles. The ship is down the end of the pier in deeper waters, and as we approach, we are treated to the truly magnificent appearance of this vessel. Now we are berthed at Fremantle, which is the port of Perth. Fremantle itself is an interesting town with many examples of Victorian architecture, and here is the CBD central shopping area of that city. Getting up steam now to depart from the port of Fremantle. We didn't actually go into Perth in the CBD area. We enjoyed the day in Fremantle instead. And to get out of our berthing position in the port, we had to do a very tight 180-degree rotation to face the outer harbour and depart towards the direction of South Australia. The manoeuvre seemed quite difficult, though the skill and the side thrusters, which allow the ship to rotate almost on a sixpence, I'm sure is the clue to the manoeuvring operation. Looking at that three-masted vessel there reminds us of the ships which proceeded in the exploration of Australia hundreds of years ago. Arriving now in Port Lincoln, South Australia. This area is well known for tuna fishing industry, and notably one of the tuna fishermen got involved in the horse racing industry and produced the winner of 3 consecutive Melbourne Cup races, and that is of course Makybe Diva. So we have a monument to record her amazing success. The following day we stopped at Kangaroo Island, which is a tourist destination noted for flora and fauna and Australian animals, and this culminated at the end of the day in a sunset departure of the ship. Back in the main piazza, the passengers settled down for an evening of fine dining, wine, and good entertainment. Arriving in the port of Adelaide, the ship is berthed very conveniently adjacent a railway line link to the central business district and this beautiful Victorian railway station. From here is just a short walk to the main shopping centre, which is known as the Rundle Mall. Another day at sea with fewer participants in the pool, as it's getting quite a lot cooler. The next stop is the port of Melbourne. Safely berthed at Melbourne Port, we take the light rail system into the central shopping area and are able to visit some of the major department stores of Australia to get some needed retail therapy. One historic feature which still prevails in Melbourne is the convenience of the tram cars. Melbourne is a great city, multicultural, very interesting, diverse in many respects, thanks to the mix of population. Berthed at Hobart in Tasmania, this is a port of departure for many Antarctic adventures, including Amundsen, as the statue in the foreground depicts. Hobart is also very famous for the annual Sydney to Hobart yacht race, which commences every year on Boxing Day. The main shopping area of Hobart. The harbour is a deep water port, and it's possible to go on tours of older vessels, sail vessels, and we're reminded once again of the earliest explorers in their discovery of the continent of Australia, particularly Matthew Flinders from the Royal British Admiralty, who was the first to circumnavigate Australia in 1802. Here's the pilot vessel coming alongside to pick up the captain pilot who has escorted us out of the harbour of Hobart. Last ports prior our final arrival in Sydney is this location of Eden. Once again, we use the lifeboat shuttles to commute to the pier on land, and all this operation is conducted from the bridge under their watchful eye. And so to the grand finale, arriving at sunrise in Sydney Harbour, which completes our total circumnavigation of this continent, having gone from Sydney to Cairns, Darwin, Perth, Adelaide, Melbourne, Hobart and Tasmania, and back to Sydney and points in between. It's been a really amazing journey and very enjoyable. And having lived in Australia for 35 years only, we have a new appreciation of the vastness and diversity of this country. It's really been fun and exciting, and we can recommend it. Thank you very much for watching. I hope it's been useful and informative, and I wish you all bon voyage and goodbye. Thank you.